Hey guys, today I have a product that I am super excited to show you guys. This is the new Olight M2R Pro Warrior. Now, why am I so excited about this flashlight as opposed to any of the other flashlights that I reviewed on my channel? Well, that's because out of all the flashlights that I've reviewed, and really any flashlight that I've even seen in the industry, this is the first flashlight that I feel like can actually double as both an everyday carry flashlight and a tactical weapon light. Now, I wouldn't say that this is the perfect flashlight just yet, but I think Olight's attempt gets us closer than anyone else in the industry. So I'm gonna tell you all the reasons why I absolutely love this flashlight, and I'm gonna tell you why I feel like it's just not quite perfect yet. So stick around. I'm Dan, this is Guns and Guitars, let's get started. So why do I feel like this is the best attempt so far at a combination everyday carry and tactical weapon flashlight? Well, firstly, as you can see, this thing is already quite a bit smaller and lighter weight than both the Warrior 10 and the Javelin Pro that I have already reviewed on my channel. So this is something that you can actually carry every day in your pocket. Now, it does come with a belt holster if you're one of those guys. I personally hate wearing holsters unless it's a firearm, but you can carry it outside your pockets if you want to. I personally like to carry my everyday flashlights in my pockets, so that's why it's a big deal that this thing is small. The other reason why I feel like this is an excellent combination everyday carry and tactical weapon light is because of the sheer light output of this thing, okay? It can get up to 1800 lumens and throw a beam out to 300 meters, okay? That makes it an excellent candidate for any carbine that you're gonna mount this to. Now, you guys know that brightness isn't everything, okay? For example, if you're camping, you're using this as your main flashlight, you get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, you don't necessarily want 1800 lumens burning your eyeballs in the middle of the night, okay? As soon as you shut it off, you're gonna be completely blind and it's gonna wake you up. It's gonna be hard to go back to sleep. So what's really cool about this one is that it has a lot of different variable brightness settings, okay? Anywhere from 1 lumen all the way up to the full 1800 lumens. I don't know all the settings off the top of my head, but if I recall correctly, it's 1, 15, 60, 350, 750, and the full 1800. Now, on top of that, you also have the option to strobe, okay? This is extremely disorienting for an assailant if you are using this as a weapon light, or again, if you're camping and you want to scare off some wildlife, this is a great way to do it. And the last reason that it's an excellent candidate for both EDC and tactical use is that it's just super rugged, okay? It can take a beating. It is shock resistant, it's water resistant, and I'll put those to the test a little bit later. But now let's talk about why it's good for each role specifically. What makes it such a great tactical light is that it's got an integrated bent-ribbed grip that feels really good in the hands. You are not gonna drop this. It's also got an integrated glass breaker slash blunt object pounder smasher, great for CQB purposes. And lastly, it's got a tail cap compatible with Olight's magnetic remote pressure switch, so it can be mounted to a weapon. And if you've been around on my channel, you know that I feel like Olight's magnetic remote pressure switch is absolutely genius, okay? The ability to clear a snag by it just breaking away if you ever get hung up on something, as opposed to having to stop and figure out what you're hung up on and clearing your snag before you can go, I think is genius. So it'll break away easily, and then you can use your thumb still to operate it until you have a second to just throw that magnet right back on, and it just goes right into place and works as needed. Another thing that I forgot to mention about the tactical side of it is that you can choose whether you want it to be just a standard on-off momentary switch for the pressure switch, or just by simply holding down the tail button and clicking the side button just one time, then that changes it into a momentary strobe effect, which again, like I mentioned earlier, having that strobe is really disorienting for assailants. And the fact that you could switch back and forth between the two so easily, it's a huge step up from Warrior 10, where you actually had to remove the tail cap in order to switch back and forth between the modes. It's a little bit difficult to do on the fly. It requires, 2 hands, but it is possible, especially with that magnetic remote pressure switch, to be able to do it quickly. Now, my personal favorite is the strobe setting. I feel like I would be more inclined to do that whenever this thing is mounted to a rifle. So that's the setting that I'm gonna leave it on. Now, what makes this such a great everyday carry flashlight is that in addition to the tail switch, it also has a side switch, okay? Unlike the Warrior 10, this one you can just pull out of your pocket and operate like a normal flashlight. You don't have to worry about which flashlight you have in your hand and have to hold a weird grip where you're using the back button to operate it. You can use the side button just like any normal flashlight. Also, it comes with this awesome two-way pocket clip. Now, this is absolutely genius. I haven't seen these a whole lot on anything other than Olight flashlights. In fact, the first time I saw it was on my favorite everyday carry flashlight, the Olight S1R Mini Baton. Okay, I absolutely love that flashlight. That one is just so close to becoming the perfect flashlight. I just haven't found a way to mount it to a weapon or use a remote tail switch for it. So, Olight, that's my suggestion for you. If you can come up with an S1R Baton 2 that can use a remote pressure switch and can be weapon mounted, that would be hands down my favorite flashlight. But until that flashlight actually exists, we have this one that really does everything bigger and better than the S1R Mini Baton, but the problem being that it is, of course, bigger. And bigger isn't always better. But that being said, this is a total serviceable everyday carry flashlight, okay? It does fit just fine in my pants pockets, and like I said, it does come with a holster if you're into that. But for me personally, it is a tad too big and bulky for legitimate everyday carry. Now, there are gonna be days where I am gonna wanna carry this, and I will have no reservations over it. But if I can get away with my smaller S1R Mini Baton, that one's likely gonna stay my legit everyday carry. So to sort of demonstrate the full usefulness of this two-way pocket clip, I mean, not only can you let it sit in your pocket face up or face down, whichever is more comfortable for you to pick it up, but let's say you need both hands to work on something, you know, right down here, you can use your pocket clip in your shirt or your jacket, and then you've got your light right down here where you need it, okay? Now, the way that I actually use it the most, I pretty much am always wearing a hat. So I can clip this thing on top of my hat and bam, now I have a headlamp. But not just any headlamp, a headlamp I can pull off and use as a regular flashlight. Another really awesome feature that I nearly forgot to mention is that the magnetic tailpiece that you use for the magnetic charging base or the remote pressure switch also doubles as a magnetic mounting base. Okay, so it can stick really to anything that's made out of metal. So that means if you need to stick this thing down inside your engine bay while you're working on your car, or if you need a lantern, you can stick it to a bolt that's in your roof. Again, that's a feature that I first saw on my S1R Mini Baton, and I'm so happy that they've included that feature because it's such a useful feature. Now, I just mentioned the size is just a bit too big and bulky for my personal taste for everyday carry. That's not enough for me to say that this is not the absolute perfect combination everyday carry and tactical flashlight, okay? I feel like if that was the only reason, this would be perfect, okay? But there's one other reason, and this is the same issue that I've had with Olight's Warrior 10 and the Javelin Pro, is that getting it in and out of the weapon mount is difficult. You actually have to remove the tail piece. There's always the possibility that the battery could fall out, okay? But you have to remove that in order to get it into their weapon mount, okay? So it just doesn't get in and out of their weapon mount very easily at all. So that's my biggest gripe and the whole reason why I feel like this is not the perfect light just yet. But as you can see with this flashlight as opposed to Warrior 10, you can actually leave the pocket clip on with it mounted. So that makes it one step closer to being able to get in and out of the mount easier. You don't have to remove the pocket clip in order to install it in the weapon mount. But you are so close, Olight. All you gotta do is make a weapon mount or a flashlight that you don't have to remove the tail cap to mount it in the weapon mount, and it will be the perfect combination everyday carry and tactical flashlight. Of course, again, my opinion, I would like it to be a little bit smaller and a little bit lighter weight, and I would even be willing to sacrifice some brightness in order to get it there, because I just don't ever operate my flashlights on the brightest setting. I think it's just a little bit too much, okay? Now, if you're using this for nighttime hog hunting or coyote or nighttime varmint hunting, then yeah, by all means, get the brightest flashlight that you can. But if you want this to be a combination everyday carry flashlight, I would definitely sacrifice some brightness to make it a little bit more compact and easy to carry every day. But man, Olight, like I said, you are so close to developing, in my opinion, the perfect flashlight. And that's the reason why I like Olight, is they're not afraid to try these new radical ideas, and they consistently come out with excellent quality flashlights at a price that you can actually afford. Which brings me to my last point. If you guys want to pick up one of these, they are extremely affordable, okay? Especially if you buy it during their flash sale, which is coming up on October 31st, coinciding with the release of this flashlight. You can get it for just like $74, I think, which for a tactical weapon light is nothing. For a really high quality EDC light, that is nothing, okay? Or you can bundle it with the remote pressure switch and weapon mount for just like $15 more. So, I mean, you can't get a remote pressure switch or a weapon mount for $15. So that is a spanking deal. I know a lot of you guys have mentioned in the comments that you feel like there's no reason to actually have a flashlight mounted to your weapon. I politely disagree. But for those of you who do have those concerns, this is a really awesome option because it makes such a great everyday carry flashlight. Plus you can use it with a pistol, you know, the standard way. Or you can actually try it out in the weapon mount with the remote pressure switch and see if you like it. Now I can see the advantage of being able to have a flashlight in one hand and a gun in the other, but I personally, when I'm shooting, really like to have a two-handed grip. So that's where I feel like you really get your advantage if you do have a weapon-mounted light, such as the M2R Pro that was also just released by Olight, and I have a separate review video coming for this. Man, it's so easy to lock up, but then you can have your full two-finger grip and still be able to use your flashlight. And this also has a daylight bright laser as well, so be watching for that full review. But like I said, I feel like it's way more advantageous to be able to use both hands while you're acquiring your target, as opposed to doing just one hand and having to hold a flashlight with the other. It's definitely just not nearly as stable, and it still requires both hands. So that's just me personally. I know some of you guys have different opinions. Feel free to let me know in the comments your opinions about that. But that's why I like that this has the ability to be weapon mounted. Okay, obviously most of you would never do this, but just to prove that it can be done, I have this thing mounted on a full-size handgun. Now, even with this flashlight fully as far back in the mount as possible and the mount as far back on the rail as possible, you can see that the flashlight barely still is taller than the barrel. So that could be an issue with muzzle blast, but you know, as long as I have this flashlight, might as well torture test it and prove that it can be done. So let's go ahead and send 10 rounds downrange like this. And even like this, it's pretty awesome that this tail switch, you can actually activate pretty easily using a thumbs forward grip like you normally would do for holding a full-size pistol. All right, still works. There you have it, folks. Pulling triple duty now, okay? Not only good for a carbine, but good for a handgun. Not super good for a handgun. Usable on a handgun. I'll go ahead and pull it off real quick just to make sure that it didn't melt anything. I cannot see any evidence of the muzzle blast hurting this thing at all, okay? Not even a scratch. So there you go, triple duty. It works on a handgun. I don't recommend it, but if you need one flashlight to do it all, not a bad option. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. I'm Dan, this is Guns and Guitars, and I will see you in that next video.